told you earlier that we're going to have a special guest. I'm so glad to have him in the studio. I've told him, off the air that I have been looking for how to get him on the show. And he is finally here because, we all have questions. We want to know how this works. And so it's great to finally have in the studio today Engineer Michael Oluwagbemi. He is the Program Director and Chief Executive for the Presidential Initiative on CNG, that's of course compressed natural gas. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, so one of the news I woke up to this morning was seeing the donation to, whether you're looking at, to transport unions and also to youths across the country. And we can start with that, but first, just to break it down for people who are listening, what the PiCNG really is about, then we can start to talk about, the projects and how far you've gone. So can we just talk about that for a minute?
Yes, thank you very much. Once again, to your listeners, good afternoon. The Presidential CNG Initiative is roughly about a year old tomorrow, when the President announced the initiative being formally constituted. And of course, 4 days later, on October 5th last year, the President announced the steering committee. And the steering committee, of course, then the management led by myself, was privileged to start the work. So about a year, we had 3 primary mandates. The first mandate is to incentivize the adoption of compressed natural gas for transportation, as well as other forms of alternative energy for transport, including the EVs, actually. And that was our primary mandate. In terms of that mandate, in a year, we were able to work with the Federal Ministry of Finance, who procured some critical assets, some of which we started distributing already. About over 500 CNG buses, about 65 to 100 EV buses, 5,000 tricycles, about 21,000 conversion kits that can convert your vehicle that is running on PMS to run on CNG and PMS. PMS meaning petroleum motor spirit. And in the last 1 year, we've been doing that work, and we kicked off the various incentive programs to allow for folks to adopt compressed natural gas. In addition to this, our second mandate was to facilitate the development of the infrastructure necessary for the distribution of CNG across Nigeria. And that includes, of course, the program that we launched around the virtual pipeline, where we were able to incentivize the setting up of 10 dispensing stations directly, and indirectly we'll be able to incentivize about 25 of them, and an additional 75 should come on board before the end of the year, in the last 1 year. Of course, our work around the facilitation of the gap in terms of the infrastructure also extends to conversion workshops. In the country, there were just 7 conversion workshops last year. Today, we have about 125. Under our program, the CIP, we actually have 3 of them active in 8 states already. Under our program, it's not everybody that's in the conversion workshop that runs through our program, because our program is very specific, supporting commercial drivers to convert for free, or rideshare drivers to get 50% discount under the presidential's intervention. But these conversion workshops are now up and running across the country, about 125 of them. I think we're going to have 250 before the end of middle of next year, and 500 before the end of next year. So we've attracted considerable investment into the sector. We've tracked about $175 million worth of investment into the sector, 12 new motor stations, 25 new refueling stations, 75 under development, additional 59 compression stations under various stages of development according to the NMDVRA, up from 3 at the end of that last year. We've attracted the additional 125 conversion workshops and probably more in development, double of that. All of these guys are employing people. In addition to that, we also have training institutions, Nigerian Automotive Development and Design Council, the Nigerian Institute of Technology, Transport Technology. These entities are training, and of course they are employing facilitators, they're employing people as well. In addition to that, we are attracting assemblers, especially assemblers of tricycles, assemblers of vehicles. 5 of the assemblers were the ones that supply the buses and the vehicles, and they are local assemblers building these buses and building these tricycles in Nigeria. We inspected an EV assembly plant on Saturday in Idu here in Abuja. So these are real jobs, real investments, and we've tracked about $175 million worth of them since last year when we had the first CNG investment forum here in Abuja. So we've seen a considerable work done there and achievements in the last 1 year. Last but not the least, our mandate is to also ensure that we develop the required regulatory framework for the compressed natural gas and alternative energy industry. And so we've been working with Standard Organization of Nigeria. We were able to get about 86 standards released in March. We've been developing what we call the Nigerian Gas Vehicle Monitoring System to ensure the safety of our converted and OEM vehicles across Nigeria. So right now, if you look at any converted vehicle, they come with an NGVMS sticker. NGVMS allows 4 monitoring agencies: the Federal Road Safety Commission, the Standard Organization of Nigeria, the Nigerian Automotive Development and Design Council, and the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. So the 4 of them are collaborating on a single platform to ensure the safety of these what we're doing. So we've done considerable work also when it comes to the NGVMS. We are rolling out the first phase of the NGVMS inspector in the next couple of months. We are grandfathering in the existing over 14,000 to 18,000 vehicles in Nigeria already running on CNG to make sure that we have them properly inspected and then grandfathered into the system. We're working with the likes of NNPC, NIPCO, Bovas, Matrix, all of these companies that are refueling to ensure that we enforce NGVMS at the pump. So these are work that we're doing on the regulatory aspect of the work. Beyond that, we're also making sure that the regulatory framework for gas provision for the sector is also very clear. There needs to be clear entry and exit from the sector, and that's why investors come in to invest. And so we're working with NMDPRA. They actually released the template for pricing of auto gas, which is now priced at significant discount, and it's assured for the next 10 years, 5 years, and another 5 years renewable. So these are regulatory framework concerning gas. There's regulatory framework concerning the auto vehicles. There's regulatory framework, of course, concerning the conversion centers, and all of these things are things that we've been working on with respect to this third mandate. So I'll say so far so good. A journey of 1,000 steps. Start with the first one. Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is very serious about moving Nigeria towards an assured gas future, a gas future that is much more abundantly prosperous than what we're having today. Nigeria cannot continue to depend on a product that does not give us the necessary energy security. It's expensive, it's unreliable, it's not priced here in Nigeria. However, gas is cheaper, it's cleaner, it's safer, more reliable. Nigeria is a gas country with over 238 TCF of natural gas in the ground, with about unproven reserve of another 650 TCF. Everywhere in Nigeria is gas, 30 out of 36 states. The oil field that was commissioned supposedly by President Buhari in December 2022 in Bauchi has 500 BCF of gas. So here in Bauchi, in Nasarawa, in Gombe, all across Nigeria is gas. We have no business with petrol or diesel, and that's what we want to do.
Why would you say we have no business with petrol or diesel? That has been our revenue for how many years? But I get what you're saying.
We should sell it.
We should sell it, right?
And then we should use the cheaper one.
Exactly.
That's what smart countries do.
Right. I mean, everybody always talks about how Nigeria is more a gas country, than a petrol country, and it's good that we're finally focusing on the benefits of gas. For everybody listening, there's so much that you've reeled up, so much that you're doing, that is commendable. But I'm going to ask very specific questions because I know that there are people like, okay, yeah, we heard all that, but we missed some of these things. And I'm going to, start first by talking about, conversion centers, basically. There was stories in the news recently about conversion centers in Lagos, in Abuja, I think in Edo State as well. In all of these places, like how many conversion centers can we say in Abuja, situated here? Where can people walk to and say, you know what, I would like to convert my car, to a CNG enabled vehicle? So where can they go to, and how expensive is it? If
you go to our website, we have information on pci.gov.ng about convention centers that are signed on to our program. That does not mean that's all the convention centers in Nigeria.
Okay.
So the PiCNG have a specific programs for commercial drivers to get their vehicles converted for free. So we've listed those centers out, and I think in Abuja we have well over 18, right? So far we've activated 53 centers in 8 states. We're going to activate 2 additional states this week. We're going to activate Kogi, and we're going to activate Ekiti. We've already activated Lagos, we've activated Oyo, we've activated Ogun, we've activated Edo, Delta, we've activated FCT, and we've activated Kaduna, and of course Nasarawa. So what we now need to do is to expand our footprint. And so this week Ekiti and Kogi will join the group, and we're now going to have 10 states activated and additional convention centers. I'm sure we get to at least 75 convention centers under our own program this week. And by the end of the month, of October, we are targeting to have another additional 25, so we should be up to 100, and maybe for them the year we should be close to 150 for the entire program. So, and probably close to between 15 and 18 states before the end of the year.
Fantastic. So that is the one that, like you said, for PCI,
Yes.
there are private collaborators or private partnerships, that are also taking this up.
Yeah, no, everything is owned by private sector. So our work is not to replace the private sector. Government should not be in the business of business, and that's what the president believes. Yes, that's what the president believes, and that's what he's told us. So we work as catalysts. So every center I've talked about is owned by private sector. They are just signed on. So anybody listening to me can open up their own center, and then they just approach our center on AOI, and they'll sign on, and we send them business, because government is paying for 1 million conversions, and we're buying those kits, we're sending it to these places, and we're telling members of the NURTW, RITIAN, NATO, many of the Pintech Taxi Association, registered vehicles under the commercial program, users, also operators on any of the rideshare programs, be it InDrive, Bolt, Hua, as the case may be. They can benefit from the government's commercial incentive program. For commercial riders, drivers, and operators, theirs is 100% free. For rideshare, because they also still use their car for private purposes, and it's not registered as commercial vehicles. But they are registered with Uber, they are registered with Bolt, they are registered with InDrive, as the case may be. They get 50%. So that's the program. But like I said, everybody, because some companies are choosing not to necessarily be converting on our program, and they're doing their business.
But let's talk about people that get into the business, right? You talk about how government should not be in the business of business. So one of the work that government does is create the enabling environment for people to be able to do this business. Putting these things together, the infrastructure, it's new investments for these businesses. Are there like incentives, like tax cards or tariffs, or reduction that they get to do these things?
Yeah, so right off the bat last year when we started this program, first thing we did was to arrange a series of incentives for the CNG sector. So the president approved an executive order and a circular for the elimination of import duty tariff for the CNG sector. So that's there. For anybody that wants to enter into the sector, benefit from the sector, that's already signed as of December of last year. Beyond that, we also provide a number of incentives as government, right, including the incentives that they provided for the industry from the gas perspective, because also CNG now is being sold at discounts. Because again, remember that every gas in the ground is owned by government under the PIA. And it's being sold at a discount, and as a result, the auto gas sector benefits. Beyond that, the federal government also have made it clear that it is no longer acquiring any vehicle that is not CNG enabled. So that means that if you are an auto seller, you are somebody potentially getting into the business of refueling, you have customers, because government is now saying all vehicles have to be on CNG. Today, we had the signing ceremony this morning with the Nigerian police, where we are enabling them to convert all the Nigerian police fleet, starting with 100 of them, where we're going to be training the officers to convert their existing petrol vehicles to CNG. So Nigerian police is moving. We started the Nigerian Army one back in March. So the entire country is moving in this direction. So that's huge incentive for anybody getting in the sector. At the end of the day, we are providing an enabling environment. We are providing the consistency in policy. We are providing the clarity in terms of the roadmap to ensuring that Nigeria has a cheaper, cleaner, safer, and more reliable gas future.
Fantastic. You talked about collaborating with transport unions, NUTRW and all of them. So how do people know, whether it's Uber and things like that, how do people know the people that have converted already? Because one of the things that we know, this is supposed to be some sort of palliative to cushion the high prices of fuel. And for people who have spent so much on transportation in the last 1 year because of the cost of fuel, how do they know that, okay, this bus is converted, and so you cannot still charge me like you're charging for regular buses? Because one of the things that we know is that people take advantage of things. They can convert, at discount or even free, and still be charging people, like petrol. So how do people differentiate this?
Yeah, so what we're doing with the commercial unions and NURTW, and even with some of the in-hub drivers, is that we're signing definitive agreement. That says we'll convert you. You go to our workshops, we get your list, you convert, and in return you give us a tramp fare reduction.
Okay.
So, for example, on Friday we had signed with the union out of Itakpe Station, Adabi Station, and Ajakuta Station that transport folks from Abuja there. So anyone going to Delta State or Edo State, they typically use that route. So what we're saying is they was charging 13,000 or 12,000 naira to go from Abuja there. We said, okay, fine, we'll change, convert your vehicles, and in return, you drop your price to 7,000, 8,000. So that's an agreement and the union enforces it. But beyond that is that all of these vehicles that have been changed will also be tagged. Every vehicle that is CNG in Nigeria has to have an NGVMS tag.
Okay.
So the Nigerian Gas Vehicle Monitoring System tag. So it is the consumers also will be able to see that this vehicle is running on CNG, and so we'll be able to demand a lower price from them. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody that has an NGVMS tag was paid for by government. I have to also say that. So it's the onus also is on you to ask if you feel that you're getting charged at a higher price, and if the person says, hey, look, I didn't benefit from the government program, I didn't use my own money. I think you can ask for a discount, but it has to be negotiated. Again, we won't get in the business of business. Ultimately, business will do business. I think market forces. What we want is we want a quantum of folks to convert. The guy that converted and is not charging lower price, somebody else will charge lower price to attract his customer. So allow market forces to work, and over time,
supply and demand issue.
You're going to have a reduction in price. But on our side, we're doing what we can, especially from the unionized transporters. Luckily, 90% of the sector is unionized, so that 90% is a little more controllable when it comes to price and pricing effect, and we have our ability to enforce and to be able to monitor that.
Fantastic. You can be a part of the conversation if you have questions, or thoughts. You can send via WhatsApp or even call in through the phone lines. Numbers to call 0817-288-7943 or 0902-199-9943. You can also send WhatsApp messages to 0909-697-5943. Now, let's also talk about, for private cars, right?
Yes.
Because definitely everybody wants to take advantage of this. You're talking about the different convention centers across the country, but
Absolutely.
One of the things that people, of course, want to find out is the cost of conversion. How much does it cost to convert a car, whether you're looking at doing it privately or not?
It's private business, so I can't tell you cost. Each business will charge what they deem necessary.
But let's talk about you. You run this PCI, right? So if you're looking at the costs aside from the discount, generally if you're converting a car, how much?
What's the range?
Yes, the range.
What is the range? Because every car is different. So
yes.
There's a 4-cylinder car that is carburetor engine. There's a car that is V6. There's V12s. Every car, they have different kits, and some kits are more expensive than the others. Some are Rolls-Royce type kits, and others are very cheap, Japan type or Korean type kits, and they work as good in the vehicles they work in. Conversion today will cost you bare cost about between 600 to 1.2 million naira, but you'll make that back in less than 6 weeks.
Right.
Your savings in a week, if you're using a standard Toyota Camry, you'll be saving 50,000 naira on your fuel every week. That means in 10 weeks.
Are you serious?
Yes. A full tank will cost you 4,000 naira. You're currently spending, ask anybody that uses a Toyota Camry.
Oh yeah, I know.
Spending about 65,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you save 50,000 naira a week. So in 10 weeks, do the maths, in about 2.5 months, you'll have earned the money of your conversion back. So I don't think it's not a bad deal. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about as a country, I think we have to look at it in two ways. You are saving money, but you're also saving your country. Petrol subsidy is bankrupting the country. Nigeria spends in the last 12 years an average of $9 to $10 billion every year. That's about $120 billion. That's how many classrooms can we build. We have 12 million children out of school. We have about almost 400,000 kilometers of unpaved roads. We have thousands of clinics and hospitals without drugs. We have one of the highest rates of maternal mortality in the world. And then we're spending money to buy this product that we don't need, to be honest, because we have gas. And we're spending it buying it. And then half of that product is being smuggled across the border to make some smugglers very rich and to manage the economy of our neighboring countries. And in buying it, we're using borrowed money. So So this $120 billion we spent in the last 10 years, we don't have that money. We actually borrowed it. And so we're transferring that wealth that should have been for our great-grandchildren. We're transferring it to our neighbors and smugglers. And then even the 50% that is left in the country is wasted. Why? Because we've suppressed the price of fuel in a way that it encourages waste. So you have an average Nigerian buying a massive SUV and have 10 of them in his yard. What's he using that for? Because he can afford, because the thing is cheap. All right? I mean,
somebody's paying for his fuel, right?
Yeah, somebody's paying for it. You see the big man with the sirens, and then he wants to go to his family, to the village, he's going to go with 20 cars. He doesn't need that. So we are wasting. And beyond that waste, is that even the poor man too is wasting, because government policy says you can't bring in cars that are older than, that allows cars that are older than 10 years to actually come into the country. As a result, average age of vehicle in Nigeria is 17, 18 years. They are gas guzzlers. They just drink.
Yeah, but then you know that even government parastatals do that. You have long convoys that are not necessary.
We have long convoys. We have old cars. A combination of long convoys, old cars, big vehicles, bad roads.
Very
all of that means that the 50% that we actually get to use in country, another half of that is wasted. So at the end of the day, what you actually need is like 25% of your current demand of petrol if you're using it conscientiously and paying the right price, not the fake price. But we are paying the fake price. Still, government is still subsidizing at 30% today. So we need to move away from this addictive product bankrupted in the country. Every time you buy PMS, you're driving Nigeria towards more debt. You're driving this country down. We need to move to CNG.
So basically what you're doing is telling people the demon is petrol. So listen to me and convert to
the demon is petrol. It is not coming into my forest reserve, and it's not.
All right then. So let's talk about conversion kits,
Yes.
right? Are those being, because I know that you're bringing most of these things in.
Yeah.
Are they going to be manufactured locally? Is there work being done to get them manufactured locally?
Yes. So currently it's not manufactured locally. The Federal Ministry of Finance did the last purchase, and they're still doing the next one. But what we are doing is that we're working with those manufacturers, the key manufacturers in the world already. We are trying to set up, working with the Ministry of Steel to set up what we call the CNG Industrial Park in Ajaokuta.
Okay.
And we're working with Ministry of Steel, we're working with NNPC. Hopefully, sometimes before the end of the year, we can actually have a groundbreaking ceremony for that. That will encourage all these international suppliers to come in country to start manufacturing these products. Not just the kits, also the cylinders, even the platforms. We already saw some of the platform guys open assembly plants. There was the Chinese company that has opened the CNG assembly plant in Shagam. They commissioned in May last week. They're training about 50 Nigerian technicians to put and assemble this, which is job created in Nigeria. So we are conscious of that fact that we need to develop a strong, resilient, both auto manufacturing and auto retrofit industry. And that's what this is about. At the same time, we're also building the industrial capacity of Nigeria, leveraging gas. It's the power of gas at the end of the day. There's no country in the world that will be able to do the quantum leap from basic development to advanced development without gas. The whole of Europe, the whole of the United States, it was post-World War movement towards gas. It's gas that is the reason why Russia and Ukraine are going at each other. Gas is what runs the world. And we have it in abundance, and we're wasting it. $12.5 billion worth of gas flared in the last 5 years. Just 5 years. Imagine what we've been doing for 60 years. So multiply by that. It's just.
I like the fact that you're really passionate about
this
because it also helps you push it the way it's supposed to be pushed.
Yeah.
But I have a question here by Elijah Tuchingwe. But remember, you can join the conversation. I also have one nice thing. I'll get to that shortly. It says the CNG initiative by this administration is a welcome one. Listening to your guests, but the president would have first invested in all of this before removing fuel subsidy, rather than throwing the country into untold hardship. And now with the news of CNG initiative, and it sounded really good. Let the fuel subsidy be reversed until CNG initiative becomes acceptable and running. This is Elijah Tuchingwe.
We still have, by the way, your guest, the person writing should still know that there's still fuel subsidy. It's just much lower than what it used to be. But the president campaigned on removing it. You voted for him. You get what you voted for. Simple as ABC. But as the reality is, the president said he was going to remove it from day one. He was not shy about it. He said, you will protest, I will still keep it. And so in democracy, the minority will have their say, but the majority will have their way.
Let me get this call. Classic FM?
Classic FM, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. All right, Francis, welcome.
Good afternoon, Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I appreciate all you have been explaining. most of us do not have these details. For you coming to the studio to tell us, gives me a lot of joy. This shows that we are going to move away from petroleum into gas.
Yes.
And that will help to save the environment too.
Yes.
Apart from cheap price, it will bring the environment itself. A lot of people will be out from this problem of cost and diseases that are related to it. But my question now is, do the presidential initiative also involve cooking gas, that's LPG? Because the common man makes use of it, the rich make use of it. Even the mama put, the prices they are adding now to their plate of food is high because of LPG. So please, we want to know if cooking gas is part of it, so that we know if there will be a revolution on it.
All right then, Francis. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks. I think our mandate is primarily CNG for transport. But I know the Ministry of Gas, and I had a meeting earlier with them this morning, have an initiative on LPG. And Nigeria should have more LPG supply with the Dangote refinery now in operation. LPG is also a consequence of the refineries, and hopefully additional refineries come on stream. NLNG2 is pushing more LPG out there. But unfortunately, LPG is still connected to crude oil, and the price of crude oil is not going to go down. The forecast for the price of crude oil going forward for the next 5 years is to rise from the current $70 level to $140.
Are you serious?
Yes, it's going to double.
You think so?
Yeah. Because
Okay,
why?
we'll
It's
see.
going to double because investment is being discouraged to go into crude oil.
Yes.
The World Bank is not investing in anything that is related to crude oil. They were the biggest investor in crude oil for the last 20-25 years. And so when you have a world with increasing population and increasing demand, but you have decreased investment and decreased supply, then price goes up. So that's why for Nigeria it's an imperative, before we get our economy destroyed by crude oil, that we move it very quickly to gas. And then we just sell the expensive crude oil and make the FX and have a stronger currency and a more prosperous country.
Okay. Let me get this question from Chima Idika from Central Business District. Says, hello, Faith and Gas Engineer. It is allegedly ascertained from a credible professional team of automobile engineers that CNG-enabled vehicles are not meant for very long distances, such as interstate movement, for fear of the vehicle going up in flames at a certain temperature due to the volatility of the gas. I think it will be wise for the CNG to call consumers' attention to it. First, let me ask you: is that true?
That's not true.
Okay.
Compressed natural gas is from natural gas. Natural gas occurs in nature. So when you look at so I tell everybody this. I mean, if you're young, I mean, you grew up in Ibadan or you grew up in Warri or Lagos like me, you remember refuse dumps of time without anybody lighting any match on them.
Yeah,
You just go
just
up in
goes
flames.
off, yeah.
That's methane. That's natural gas. It doesn't explode. It's lighter than air. Its self-ignition temperature is about 1001 degrees centigrade. Its ignition temperature about 505 degrees centigrade. It's in the case of CNG, it's now compressed and stored in containers so that it can be able to fuel you via long distances. So the point of putting it and making it compressed is so that it can fuel you over long distances. Today, a CNG vehicle, most CNG vehicles, even buses now have 2 cylinders, so that is equivalent to the PMS cylinder in the same vehicle. So the vehicle goes 300 kilometers with 2 cylinders, it will go the same 300 kilometers. So it's not. So when people say, "Oh, it goes shorter distance," so it's a question. You have a massive tank, petrol tank, by the way, under you, and that petrol tank is not bulletproof, and petrol is very volatile, 18 times more explosive than natural gas, 8 times more diesel is 8 times more explosive than natural gas. Petrol is 18 times more explosive than natural gas, and you're sitting on it, right? And then you get into an accident and the thing flows. That's the reason why 9 out of 10 times a petrol vehicle gets into an accident, it goes up in flames, right? CNG is not like that. It's stored in a bulletproof container. If it escapes from that bulletproof container, because it's lighter than air, it escapes very quickly. If you do not put it in a condition where it rises to 505 degrees centigrade and there's a match there, then it will never go up in flames. So it's for anyone that is using PMS vehicle to talk about the safety of CNG is like pot calling a clean new kettle black, right? So it's not PMS vehicles are not safe. Let me put it, and most of you know this. See any accident on the road, they go up in flames. I mean, these vehicles are, you are sitting on a fuel tank of a liquid that is volatile, that is very, very explosive. That is not the case with CNG. CNG, you're not even sitting on it. It will be at the back of your vehicle. It can dissipate. It's not the same thing. You're not sitting on danger. Okay. So please,
I guess this also answers the question of, if you're sending your messages, please include your name. This message is like, how safe is CNG compared to petrol in relation to car crash? I've seen the CNG cylinder at a car boot. Is it safe? What if a car runs into another car from the back? Won't there be an explosion? So you're saying that?
No, it's bulletproof. It's made up of what we call seamless steel. It's not the same thing as LPG. So many people confuse when they say gas. Gas can be nitrogen, can be hydrogen.
Oh, because the gas Nigerians are used to.
LPG. But LPG is from the same product that petrol comes from. So that's why I said that's explosive. LPG is a derivative of petrol refining.
Interesting.
Crude oil refining, just like petrol, kerosene, diesel. They come from the same product, crude oil.
Okay.
Right. But natural gas comes from nature. It is natural.
It's different.
It's
different.
Different gas.
Source. Okay.
And if you look at the propane and butane is what makes up LPG. Ethane and methane is what makes up natural gas. And that means the lighter, the chemical compounds for my chemistry students on the call is much lighter. So it dissipates faster.
Okay.
Yeah, two different.
Right, let's take this call. Classic FM.
Good afternoon, Faith.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. What's your name?
Nkem calling from Posexu.
All right, Nkem. Welcome. Go ahead.
Good afternoon to your guest. There's no better person to handle the stressful than this gentleman. He has actually demystified most of the myths around CNG and issues and safety implications. However, the pressing challenge right now is accessibility of CNG. As much as I know in Abuja, there is only one fuel station where you can get CNG, which is Midco, along the airport road. I don't know if I'm wrong. I know people want to know if there are other outlets where you can have, the CNG. And when you go to this particular station, you see trucks lined up, vehicles waiting, and people can't wait for days just to get, a refill of their tanks. Then if there's a way they can open up the market for conversion, that would be great. That would be great. So that the government focuses on standardization, making sure that the safety requirements and all of that are met by, the vessels, the conversion kits, and the workshops. So that it takes the burden off the government and makes it available for people, who want to get it and to drive down the tracks, hopefully.
All right.
So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I think he would respond to you now.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks for the commendation. Really, very well appreciated. On the refueling, it's work in progress. We have to understand that, again, it's going to be driven by private sector, and they need to see demand to invest. A typical CNG station, standalone daughter station, will cost you about $250,000 in one site. If it's LCNG, where you cannot even provide CNG and you have to truck LNG there, it can cost as high as $800,000, right? So it's a considerable investment that requires considerable number of cars that are already converted. So you have to understand what we're trying to do is almost like a chicken and egg situation where they need to see the market to invest and we need to show that the market exists. Is a reason why government is fully going into this, supporting this conversion, because if we support the conversions, the private sector will go into the refueling. That being said, we're already seeing of course, the critical partners for us on the refueling side, number one has to be NNPC. I mean, that's why they exist, to fill in this kind of gap. So what the NNPC have done is they've immediately commissioned 12 centers, 6 of them in Abuja, 6 of them in Lagos, and they're working on 40 before the end of first quarter of next year.
Refueling centers.
Refueling centers. So in Abuja, actually I visited one last week, even though they're having some issues with sourcing gas generally, but they are sorting out those issues. At least 3 of them had gas last week, and I hope additional ones we have gas this week. There's a day one, there's one in Gadua, there's one in Sector Central in Gudu, there's Ushafa, there's Olusegun Obasanjo Way, Zone 1, and there's Bond Petroleum in Guadalajara.
Okay.
Also have gas. Now, every point in time, maybe 2 out of the 6 have the gas. So but they are working to make it more regular. NIPCO is also opening an additional gas center in Kubwa. And I think that's already up and running, but they had some pressure issues last week. They should be back on this week. Bovas is opening additional 2 that will be commissioned before the end of the year. Installation is going on here in Abuja. So the point I'm making is that it's work in progress. So in Abuja, give or take, before the end of the year, we should have at least between 8 to 10 refueling locations here in Abuja, and there will be more. More is coming because we've seen the uptick. Like I said, about 25 being open, and another 75 already in development in the different NMDPRA system. So we will see more as people convert. So the main thing is you have to understand, when you convert, you still have petrol. So it's not like you're eliminating your petrol tank, but it now becomes your backup, right? That way,
it's some sort of hybrid, basically.
Yeah, they are all hybrid vehicles.
Okay.
So what essentially allows you to do is that you buy the cheaper fuel with CNG, you use it. If you are not the one that's paying attention, or you've not gone near an area where there's CNG, then you have an opportunity to use your petrol to get to your CNG stations to refuel if you ever run out of CNG.
Fantastic.
Yes. So I think that works for now as we move the country towards a fully gas future.
All right, then. Let me take this message. This says, this is my take on the issue at hand. The simple economics says that the higher the price, the higher the quantity demanded. The price of so-called gas will increase over time, just as clean gas is dragging with the price of kerosene that people are now back using charcoal. The government should be up and doing in regulating whatever we have, and stop running away from what they should do to tackle this. Else, the story will be a disappointment in the future. So he's talking about how he doesn't see how the price will go down, but the price will probably go higher. But loss, supply and demand does not.
Let's talk about economics.
Exactly. Supply and demand does not do that.
Let's talk about economics. So there are 2 things in Nigeria today that we regulate heavily, and the price has been going up, but it's still not available. Petrol and power. Because we continue to disobey the law of economics, and then we want economics to work for us. It doesn't work that way. Now let's take another commodity, your recharge card. I remember my first recharge card and SIM card, I bought it for 60,000 naira. Today they give that thing away for free.
Yeah.
Nigeria has one of the lowest data rates in the world. I don't mean in Africa. Nigeria is, I think, is 3rd after India in terms of data. You can go to Europe. The amount I can buy. Yesterday I got about 150 gigabyte for 15,000 naira on my phone. Right? No, sorry. It's not even up to that. I think 7,500 naira. I bought 150 gigabyte, an MTN promo. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yes.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, you can check it out. Maybe you want me to advertise it? Honey?
No, don't advertise it.
Advertise it. So it is so cheap. Data in Nigeria is so dead cheap. Why? Because we allowed competition. Government was not setting the price.
Exactly.
And he talked about, if people come in, this. It is only if we do the wrong thing. I cannot assure that the next government or the government after that will not do the wrong thing if we all are pushing for the wrong thing. Because the reason why Nigerian government has been controlling the price of petrol and power for time immemorial is not because the people in government want to do it, it's because we, the governed, demand it. So if we demand the wrong thing for CNG, and I'm saying this as a pioneer in the industry, if we demand what we did in petrol for CNG, then the inevitable outcome, in petrol will happen. But if you let it be market force priced, and you let because what happens is that when it's market force priced, initially, prices might even be high, but that attracts investment, because when people see high prices and huge margin, they could go, I can make my money in telecom. That's what happened. I remember in the 2002, 2003, 2004, every Tom, Dick, and Harry was opening up a telecom shop. A bunch of them made their money, yes, but it attracts investment. And when that investment come in, the sector has more supply, prices come down. We must have faith in the market. We are a capitalist democracy. We are not a communist democracy. So as a country, we must have a mindset shift in order to have the outcome that we want. And the president is very clear about this. And that's why even to us, he said, look, you're a government entity. I don't want you guys to get in the business. Otherwise, government can say we award contract for 1,000 conversion centers.
You know what I just happened? We just killed innovation.
Yeah.
We just killed people. I went to a gentleman's...
Killed innovation and
Yeah.
introduced corruption.
Corruption. Yeah, I went to a business over the weekend, and the gentleman has this small shop in a petrol station, and he does 12 conversions a day. And he has set up a school in a room that is as small as this studio that churns out 40 students in conversion technicians a week.
Where?
Somewhere in Lokogoma.
Oh, wow.
And the gentleman is doing that out of innovation. He had broken down the entire system of converting cars to an 8 or 12 steps, almost like an assembly line. And they specialize. The electricians specialize in 3, the mechanics specialize in 2 or 3, the bodywork paint guys specialize in 1. He has figured it out. If government was the one in charge of that stuff, I can't get there. So you must let the ingenuity of your people, the innovation of your people, the market is us. We are the market. So why are we afraid of ourselves?
It's Nigeria. Anyway, let's talk about this. So this person that talked about the safety,
yes,
this is a tall task, but let me ask you all the same.
No
He said, thanks for the education.
Yeah.
However, will you be willing to indemnify me and sign up any legal indemnity in the event of my car going up in flames? Should I convert my car to CNG and I bring up a legal suit against you as a result of your assurances on radio?
No, I'm not going to indemnify you because you already use an explosive car.
Exactly, who indemnified you for petrol?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You're already using a vehicle that is 18 times more explosive than CNG. Now you're going to put CNG in it. So you cannot blame the CNG. If an explosion will happen in that car, it's probably the petrol that caused it.
So you're not going to indemnify?
No, I can't indemnify him.
Okay. So I think he talked about, he just answered this, but I'm just going to read the message anyway.
Yeah.
Ibrahim from Airport Road said, are we going to see the price of CNG conversion drop anytime soon? And then the cost of conversion is at the moment a minimum of 1 million naira, and the kits are hardly available. So that's one of the things he's talking about. You mentioned the fact that, for people bringing in the kits, they get some sort of incentive so that more people
DT exemption.
Okay.
Like again, I remember when 99 2000 I was at University of Lagos and the phone rang in the class for the first time. We've never seen a mobile phone before. Even our lecturer told the lady that had the phone to please come show the class what the phone looks like. It was 99 2000. A lot of Gen Z can relate, right? But this was the situation. So it was scarce. Yeah, SIM card was very expensive.
About
it was
50,000 or even
yeah,
more.
50,000, 60,000. My first Nokia Touchlight. Yeah, but over time, it became available because we allowed market forces. So let's guard against our worst instinct of trying to make government do everything, set price. No, I'm encouraging everybody. If you are listening to this call, when people tell you that government should regulate price of kit, please be the first one to say no. When you hear people say no, tell them no, government should not do it. Let the market work. And even the way we've designed our system, this commercial incentive program, is to even use it to encourage people to go into conversion. We're not trying to discourage people from converting. And if you want to bring your own kit for you and I, the 10%, the top 10%, because 90% of Nigerians move around on commercial transport. They don't have their own cars. But those of us who have cars are privileged. They are 10% of Nigerians. So if you're on this call and you have your own car, you're a privileged person. So government is saying, go and pay.
Oh, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Talking about private cars now,
Yes.
because this also concerns me. For your conversion centers,
Yes.
the government's conversion
Yeah.
centers, if a private car owner goes there,
Yeah.
do they get any sort of discount or they pay full price?
They pay full price if they can find the kit, because the kit the conversion centers have is not for private people like you and I. We map it, and EFCC monitors this. We have an agreement with EFCC. There's no center that can use government kits for a private car. They try. Well, that's the indemnity I cannot give them. But
we have to have more conversion
kits.
Yes,
so conversion kits. The
well.
opportunity now is that, imagine. So let me describe that system how it's designed to you. Imagine a center doing about 100 conversions a month and makes quite good money from the government program, but understands that there's a massive need on the private side. He can now go and use the money, the profit is made from the private government, go and buy his own kit and give it to the private side. And that's the way government can be catalyst. We have to have smart program design. And that's what we're doing. We are not trying to crowd out the private sector. And what we are also now seeing is that we are seeing consumer credit and financial people coming up with products. At least 2 or 3 banks have approached us over the weekend, in addition to about 5 that are already working with us, to finance people to acquire this. Like the president said in his campaign, we must have consumer credit. As a country, you cannot expect people to pay cash for everything. cash house, cash car. And only Nigeria even have cash plane. People who own planes in Nigeria and actually own it. It's not done anywhere else in the world. You are going to encourage criminality, right? So we need to ensure that that consumer credit, and we're having discussions with them to see how we can at least provide some kind of financing to civil servants that have cars, to private sector, organized private sector, people like you that have, I mean, you've been working here for a while now. I mean, they can see your salary. And if you're saving 50,000 naira a week and someone is saying bring 30,000 naira for the next 10 months instead of paying it off into, you will do it.
That makes sense.
You do the deal. Yeah.
Let me ask
this,
you.
This was, so we are trying to use this to actually develop the economy, make the economy grow naturally without having government hands all over the place.
In everything.
Yes.
So we have a few, car assembling plants in Nigeria. Are you working with them as well to make sure that as they're putting their cars together, I don't want to mention names because I didn't film for adverts, they can actually include CNG?
Yes, almost all the major, in fact, the five of them that are supplying either the EV or the CNG bus under our program are all Nigerian companies. Additional 2 also have been added, and they were the ones that we actually donated their vehicles yesterday. So the 6 of them, including the tricycle making 7, are already doing, they're building CNG vehicles or EV vehicles. And the Nigerian Automotive Design Council has a council of, I think, about 18 or 19 manufacturers locally, and the emphasis is on CNG. The government won't even buy your product anymore, the federal government that is. And all we now need to do is for the state government to enter the pattern. We need the states ultimately to make the transport policy. We are a federal country, and I try to tell everyone, we don't have one government in Nigeria. We have 801 government. We have the 36 state government, the federal government, the 36 state government, the FCT government, and we have the 774 local government. The transport policy resides at the state and local government level, the 37 state government and the 774 local government. They are the ones that have the transport policy responsibility. And so we must push them to do the right transport policies to allow Nigeria to transition away from the use of.
So you're having conversations with state governments on this?
Yes, we've been having the conversation. Yes, we are having conversation with the National Transportation Council. We're having, so I addressed them in Abeokuta in February, and we also had an engagement about 3 weeks ago here in Abuja. We are developing what we call the model state initiative, where we take 2 or 3 states and show them what can be done in terms of the transport policy. For example, imagine if a state says that you're no longer going to register any commercial vehicle or industrial vehicle that is using PMS or diesel going forward. It has to be minimum CNG. That immediately moves that state from the use of PMS and diesel to CNG. So, and that can be done. We can have every state in Nigeria stop the registration of petrol and diesel vehicle starting from next year. That means that there's no market for them in Nigeria anymore. They have to take their market somewhere else. And that will also now mean Nigerian manufacturers have to speak to CNG manufacturers.
Because I was going to talk about manufacturers as well, on that matter as well. Let's talk about what about insurance companies? Are they in this conversation at all?
Yes, they are. We all our vehicles are going to be insured. We are working with the major insurers in Nigeria. We've been working with them from day one. They have insurance not just on the platforms, but even on insurance on the automotive workshops and all of that. So they get it. Look, the risk, the literature on the risk of CNG versus petrol is clear. What they are insuring right now is a risky one.
Okay. This says, hello, Faith. I agree to your guest. He has made the CNG conversation more apparent for anyone who is listening to understand the workings. However, this enlightenment should have come earlier than now, hence the apathy for CNG conversion. We're good at making propositions without a proper execution plan. Talking about market forces in Nigeria, only in a few instances has it succeeded. The government, without a will to sincerely make things work, will neutralize the effects of market forces. That is why market forces have not impacted petrol positively. This is Sam. I guess, better late than never. There are people saying, oh, well, we should have had this conversation earlier. Here's the thing, though. The conversation about CNG buses, I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, the last administration, the finance minister kept talking about CNG buses, but we never saw anything come out of it. And so now we have this.
I think instead of the talking, we should just do it. I think a lot of people just I would say probably this is the most publicized government program in Nigeria in the last 20 years. Easily. I don't take any credit for it. I think the president has led the charge.
People think you should take credit. Somebody says it should be the Minister of Transportation. Just saying.
The president is the Minister of Petroleum.
Well, do you say transportation? You should be
and the president has been leading the charge. So I think the conversation will not get to everybody at once. We will as we go along, we'll touch different people in this conversation. I'm glad there are people are beginning to see sense in it. But even beyond that is that they see it being done. You see, you can for I'd say that I say seeing is believing, right? I mean, and in this case, seeing requires you touching it, entering it. The labor unions yesterday got the 64 buses and said they want more, right? Once they understood that they can go on this bus from here to Kano and back at 1/5 of the cost, they want more. So it's the reality is that once we deploy, I think a lot of times there's been gap between what we say and what we do.
Execution,
Yeah. So
basically.
in this case, we are executing. We hold ourselves responsible.
What is the
you know,
goal really
publicly.
between now and how many vehicles are you looking to convert between now and next year? Do you have a
So we have a
target?
metric. The president has set a goal for us to make sure that by in his first term we convert 1 million vehicles. Right.
That's a lot.
Yes, it's going to be the fastest in the world. The highest that's been done in the world is about 20 to 25,000 average a year. In Egypt, that's the country that has done the highest conversions in the first 4 years. So they did about 125, 130,000 since 2021. Right.
And you want to do 1
We
million?
want to do 1 million in the same period. And yes, because we have big problems, we must have big solutions. And we're also a big country, right? So I think, of course, when we had the Egyptians come to Nigeria on the study tour earlier this year, they said, oh, no, it's impossible. And when we now told them that we have 125 conversion centers in 3 months, they were like, wow, it's potentially possible. Because again, big country, big problem, but big solution. So I have faith in the Nigerian. I think a country, one of two countries in the world that built a new national capital in the last 60 years. Many countries tried it and failed, but Nigeria succeeded. So I have faith in the Nigerian entrepreneur. Every day they are always reaching out to me. They want to build convention centers. They want to do refueling. Nigerians are entrepreneurial. I'm not worried about them. I think we're going to hit the goal and probably even surpass it.
Yeah. There was the report about distributing 2,000 CNG powered tricycle to youth across Nigeria. So when you talk about conversion, is it just vehicles? I can see tricycles. Are there bikes involved in this?
Yeah, no, we talk about vehicle conversion. We don't talk about bus. They're all vehicles, whether it's a tricycle or it is a car. They're all vehicles.
What about bikes? Are they captured?
No, bikes are not, the technology for CNG bikes is just being tested. I think Bajaj is the one that just came up with it. But Nigeria is a three-wheeler country, by and large, based on our transport data that we see. Convey ourselves last mile mostly on this tricycle. So we want to make sure that we speak to that. So we are making 5,000 tricycles available, but 2,000 of them is going into this Ministry of Youth Empowerment program, where we're matching beneficiaries with aggregators. We're working with the major unions, NACTOMARAS and NITOMARAS, otherwise known as TWAN, to make sure that we provide this CNG. These are pure CNG, unlike the vehicles which are converted and are still hybrid. These ones are pure CNG tricycles, and they will run cleaner, cheaper, much more reliable. And yes, if you can come around the old parade ground tomorrow, we'll launch it.
Oh, fantastic. 2 o'clock, old
Be
parade
there
ground.
by 12. So that you can get your seat.
Yes, tomorrow is also Independence Day.
Yes, yes, we are independence from petrol.
Independence from petrol.
Yes.
I mean, you're really passionate about this, and that is, that's really remarkable to see. And so we're hoping that the fashion continues to drive.
I'm a child of the industry, so I have no choice. I was born into oil and gas, and I always felt that gas was the way to go. And to me, I think that is very critical that as a country, we understand that we have economic choices. And I like the reason why I like this conversation we're having today is that we had a lot of discussion around economics, which, by the way, was my best subject. Even though I'm an engineer, but I realized that bad economics is what ruins good programs. People talk about execution. Execution is easy, right? It will happen. But if your execution is based on bad economics, look at the airline industry, what we're doing with that for a long time. We look at the refineries, what we did with that for a long time. The pipeline system, it's bad economics. You're underpricing the product. There's no way you can get enough recovery to reinvest in that product to make sure you have a lot of it. So it's never going to work. So insofar as you have bad economic policies, then you are going to have bad execution. It's already baked in. So that's what I'm saying is that I hope that this industry that we're birthing, just like the telecom industry, we're birthing it around good economics. And we're making sure that we put good economic managers, good sound economic thoughts, and execution around it instead of.
I mean, even 10 years, we can talk about this particular industry that you're birthing,
Yeah.
like telecoms. Your name will be written in gold, wouldn't it?
I
let's talk
hope.
about-
I hope Nigeria is better for it at the end of the day.
Right?
I don't care about who takes the credit. The most important thing is that Nigeria gets.
Somebody
better.
always has to take credit. Anyway,
President does, I think.
let's let's talk about sourcing for gas.
Yes, yes.
For people who are setting up refueling or whatever,
Yeah.
what is the package like for them to source for gas easily? We talk about Nigeria having gas all over about 30 states, as you mentioned, but how easy is it for people to source gas so that they always have it for refueling?
So we have bountiful gas that we're wasting already. So the interesting is that this part of the equation is where Nigeria doesn't even have a problem, right? Approximately today we use only about 3 BCF of our gas a day.
Just that?
Of which about 2.2 goes to NLNG for export, and about 800 SCOF now is utilized locally. But another 4 BCF is wasted. Wasted in what way? 2 billion goes back into the ground because we clean it, we get it ready for use, but we can't evacuate it, so we reinject it back into the reserve.
Yeah.
And then there's another 2 flames. So we need to move those ones that are going up in flames first. We need to capture them, all our flare sites. If you travel from Lume to Douala and you travel along the coast of Nigeria, you will not see electricity. You will see burning flare.
Oh, wow.
And polluting those environments, destroying those communities, and destroying our natural resources. We need to capture those natural resources very quickly, either by FLNG for export or for domestic consumption, gas. Thankfully, NNPC is doing a fantastic job of building the gas infrastructure. AKK should come on stream sometimes next year, by the grace of God, I think. And then we should be able to have a whole lot more in terms of domestic utilization that would then redirect this gas for Nigeria's use all the way to Kano, and then we're going to have flanges all into Gombe, Bauchi, and the rest. But in addition to this, that the federal government, led by the petroleum minister, who is also the president of Nigeria, has been focusing on incentives for the sector upstream. The special advisor energy talked about the incentive program that have now attracted investment from ConocoPhillips, attracted investment from Shell. Even Chevron is already considering additional investments in their fields. We've seen Renaissance, local companies like Renaissance, Ohando, Seplat acquiring fields and attracting money from Afrexim to invest in those fields. That's going to open up and unlock gas resources. We're seeing gas infrastructure projects like OBOB getting completed, multiple lines in southeast part of Nigeria to connect the gas from the southeast corridor to the southwest corridor. We're seeing gas pipeline projects like EIJ, which happened. I was privileged to lead the concept studies, but it's now coming on stream finally to get to final investment decision before the end of this year. So we are seeing all of these. We're seeing new energy projects being developed.
Yeah.
Bonnie and Lokola hopefully will come around. I was the front-end engineering designer for Lokola about 17 years ago when I first entered the industry. It's sad that it took us 17 years to now get to.
Like 17 years.
Yes.
It's a long time.
Yeah, that was 2004. I was working at Exxon. And so it's good that we're finally getting to it. And I hope that we really do take this gas future very, very
seriously.
Yeah.
So now people can go on your site to look at conversion centers.
Yeah.
We just need to have more conversion centers for private cars as well. That's so important. So that at least
we need more investment. So let this be the only advertisement I'm doing on the show. If you have money,
bring your money.
Go and buy conversion kits. People want it, and then you provide them finance.
And their tax incentive. You said their import duty
waiver.
Waiver for it. So
the Office of Special Advisor Energy and Minister of Finance administers it. And I just like telecom, everybody invest, and you make your money back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Engineer Michael Oluwagemi, for coming here to talk to us. I hope that everybody has at least learned something. You can visit the website or your site.
www.pci.gov.ng.
Fantastic. And you will get more information, from there.